Greetings and welcome to the Bowling Green First United Methodist Church. We hope that you enjoy what you're about to see, and you can find us on the corner of Broadway and Church Streets at 11 o'clock on Sunday mornings. Or you can find us at bgmethodist.org and on Facebook at Bowling Green First United Methodist Church.
I kind of got started looking at something like, when we hear Jesus stories, when we tell the stories about him, we always tell, when we got Jesus, we have his disciples, we have the Pharisees and the Sadducees, and I know we get the main characters and the main players in the stories all the time, but occasionally we'll get some other folks that get kind of tossed into the middle of that, but mostly it's them. But when you stop and you look at it, you realize that where Jesus was ministering around the Sea of Galilee, up to Nazareth, where he was from, down to Bethlehem and Jerusalem and all the points there in between, there were a lot of people that were over there. And we know there were a lot of people because you look at all the folks that the disciples converted after Jesus' ministry and after Easter and after Pentecost. You know that there was a lot of people over there, but we don't often hear their story. Now the problem is that those folks were a lot like us. They're the folks that got up, they went to work every day, they came home, they had families, they had kids, they sometimes watched baseball games where cats got out onto the field. They did all sorts of, they did those things that we do all the time. But what would it have looked like from their perspective to see and to begin to hear Jesus' story? Not because they were involved in the stories themselves, but because they began to hear what was going on. And so this morning we're going to take a look at that story from the perspective of a baker there in the city of Jerusalem and looking out onto the streets. And of course every baker has to have a picture of the Pillsbury Doughboy and Betty Crocker up on their wall. But this is their part, that's his story as he begins to come to know who Jesus is. So I'm a baker, and I spend all day and I do this a lot. Getting all that dough put together, mixing things up, getting it there. And I have a shop where folks come in and they buy things from me. Preferably bread, because that's what I sell the most of, and that's the easiest for me to do. But they come in, they buy things, and we go on. And there was one day, as this part of my story began to take shape, where this Pharisee walks in. Now, he is one of these guys that I have known for a very long time, and he is one of those guys that I'd rather not see because he comes into my shop, he tells me all sorts of information that he knows I will pass on because I have a big mouth and I like to talk, and I want to make sure everyone has the appropriate information for how they go, but he never buys anything. He's this guy who walks in, and whenever he walks in, I know he's trying to cause trouble. But we have a good conversation. He walks into my shop one day. He comes in and he is talking to me. And he says, "Have you heard about this guy?" I'm like, "You're going to have to be a little bit more specific than that. Which guy are you talking about?" "I'm talking about this guy. He is this rabbi from this backwater town of Nazareth. And he is out and he is talking to people." And I said, "Well, what's he talking to them about?" Obviously it's something important because you're coming in here apparently trying to stir me up. And he says, well, he's talking to them and he says that he has this everlasting bread. This bread that it never grows stale, never grows moldy, that you can always cut another slice off. It is everlasting bread that you can have. And I'm getting kind of worried at this point because I'm a baker. I do this all day. Getting all of that bread ready. I want to know, what do you mean? Is he going to put me out of work, or can I buy that yeast that he's using? How is this supposed to work? And he's like, I'm just not sure, but he's got a lot of people that are listening to him and are talking to him all the time and sharing what he says. And so, and then this Pharisee just says, "I just wanted you to know that that's what was going on." And then he walks out of my shop, and I'm sitting there going, I don't know what's going on. What do you mean there's got this guy that's talking about everlasting bread and people are believing him, and is that going to hurt me and my business later on down the road? But I had someone else walk into my shop after that, so I had to keep going doing this. because that's what I do. I make bread and I sell bread to people. Those are the things that I do, and I couldn't think about it too much anymore because that's the way that life goes. Well, it may have been that night, it may have been a little while down the road, I don't know. I kind of lost track of it after a while. But I was walking out of my shop one night, I walked out the door, I turned the sign around so it said closed, and I'm walking down the street and I see this group of people that are down there, and they're just talking and they're visiting and they're having a good time. And I see this other Pharisee that I know, his name is Nicodemus. But Nicodemus was a different sort, he was a good man. He didn't walk around like some of those other Pharisees did that had their noses, couldn't tell why nobody's did this, but they didn't, it's like they just were better than all the rest of us. Nicodemus was a regular guy. I like Nicodemus, and so I walked up that direction, and the crowd kind of cleared out, and I go up to him, and Nicodemus is sitting down, kind of up on a rock outside where he'd just been talking to some folks, and I look over at him, and he sees me, and he looks at me and says, well, what troubled you, my friend? You look like something is bothering you. And I looked at him and I said, Nick, I called him Nick because, hey, he's my friend. And I said, Nick, he is, I had one of your colleagues walk into my shop the other day. And you can see he already had this unpleasant look on his face, like he knows where this is going. And he walks into my shop and he tells me about this guy in this Nazareth something town that's around here somewhere, and his name was, he was a rabbi, his name was Joseph or Joshua or Jesus or Jesse, or I couldn't keep track of it, Jay something or other, and he was teaching people and telling people things, and he had this bread that never grows moldy or anything, and it's like, I just don't understand, and Nicodemus just kind of sat back a little bit. You can tell that he was not really very happy, but not with me, but more with my colleague. And he says to me, he says, I really wish my colleagues would really learn to keep their gobs shut. I looked at him and I said, Willie, the candy maker next door, has something for that. Sorry, you'll catch on in a second. Sorry. But he says, I'm really just not very happy with him. He says, here, come and sit down. He pulls me over. He says, sit down and let me tell you about what I know. He says, I've not ever met this Jesus guy yet. His name is Jesus. He is from Nazareth. I haven't met him yet, but I have heard some stories, and I know some folks that have been around him when he's been doing some different things. And he says, let me tell you about what was going on. Because about the time you heard about that bread thing, what had happened was Jesus, and he's got these followers, and some other folks are calling them disciples or whatever, but they were gathered, and Jesus was teaching up by the Sea of Galilee, and something happened, and it got time to eat, and there wasn't enough food, and so Jesus took a few loaves of bread and a couple of fish, and all of a sudden he fed 5,000 people. I'm sitting back going, that's kind of an impressive trick. I need to learn that somewhere. Is it kind of yeast he uses, or what happens to make that happen? But okay. But he says, but what happened was folks ate and they were filled, and then Jesus and his disciples, they got on a boat and they went back across the Sea of Galilee. Well, the other folks that were there listening to him said, he fed us once. I bet we can make it probably over to where they're going to land, and maybe he'll feed us again. And so that's what they did. And Jesus and his disciples took out across the sea. These other folks came around the other side, and they met back up with them when they got over onto land. And Jesus looks at now the same crowd of people is back there in front of him. And Jesus is kind of staring at him. They're staring back at him. And he says, I know why you're here. You aren't here because you necessarily believe what I said. You're here because I gave you food the last time we got together. Apparently they had casseroles too, because that's how you get people around for things. But they got him in there, and he says, I know why you're here. You've got this bread that you want to have, but let me tell you something. And so Nicodemus goes on to tell this story. Tell the story of how Jesus was talking to them and said, you want bread that's going to feed you. Let me give you some bread that is going to last forever. And this bread comes from God, and God sends you this bread so that you can so that you can be whole and you can be filled and all of this. And because there were a bunch of good Jewish boys and girls that were gathered around to listen to him, they began to say, well, what do you mean by that? What makes your bread any different? Because then they rightly pointed out, they said, Moses gave us bread in the wilderness. And Jesus then rightly pointed out to them, said, no, it wasn't Moses that gave you the bread. It was God that gave you the bread. Because you remember how the story goes. The Israelites were coming out of Egypt. They had made it across the Red Sea. Now they're in the wilderness. And they're running out of food. And they're going to Moses. And they're saying, Moses, we need food. And food magically appeared overnight for them to go and eat. Jesus says, that didn't come from Moses. That came from God. Moses was your leader, but God was the one that provided you the bread, just as he is doing now, sending you bread to have, sending you the Messiah to come and to help you overcome what it is that you're facing, to give you this bread. Nicodemus points out, it's not about the bread at all. Bread is just a metaphor that he is using in there. And I look back at Nicodemus and I say, kind of confusing metaphor. Nicodemus said, yeah, no, it's kind of a little bit confusing. But he said, here's this. Here's what I think the basic part of that message is. There's more to it, but I think the basic part of it that Jesus was trying to get across to him was just this. Here you are, here God is. God wants this to be closer together. We're really bad at this. He sends the bread from heaven, the Son of Man, to come and to close that gap from one to the other, to bring us closer to God, to be who we're supposed to be. And that's what he is trying to do. I look back at Nicodemus and say, well, why in the world did, what's his name, come in here and try and stir me up? And what is it with all this bread? So I'm not quite... Nicodemus looks at me and kind of grins at me first, and he says, he comes in to stir you up because he knows you'll be stirred up. He knows that you can't keep your mouth shut and that you're going to tell everybody what he said. I said, well, you're right. Okay, I'll give you that one. But then he says, this is what I want you to do. Or this is what I want you to know about this. Is that there's a battle going on between these two different groups. On the one hand, you have the Pharisees, who are all about taking all of the trivial things that we do every day and making sure you do it in the one and only prescribed and correct way that you're supposed to do it. And if you don't do it that way, here's the things you've got to do to make up for doing the other things wrong. And then they give you a whole bunch of them that you've got to do and you've got to watch for. And make sure that they stay in power because they're the ones who tell you what the rules are and how to do it. So you've always got to come back to them in order to know what are the right things to do. He said, well, that makes sense. He says, Jesus doesn't care about having any of that power. That's not his gig. That's not what he wants. He instead says, here, let me tell you how to bring those things, to bridge that gap between you and God. Let me teach you and give you the tools you need so that you can grow closer without having to go through all of this other stuff in between that really is all about just keeping one group of people in power over another group of people. That's not what Jesus is trying to do there. Then Nicodemus said, consequently, because of that, all these people aren't listening to the folks who are trying to hold their power, and Jesus has more power than he knows what to do with right now, and the Pharisees are all really confused as to why that happens. He says, I just kind of sit back and I laugh at it because I think it's kind of funny. Because in reality, what Jesus is teaching is much closer to the Torah than what these Pharisees are trying to teach. Jesus is doing a better job of it. Well, at that point, our conversation went on for a little bit longer, but and then I go home, and I didn't completely understand this whole bit about the bread thing yet. It would take me a while. I'm a baker. I'm not a metaphor person. That's someone else that makes those. I just try to do my own job. But I did find out that as we went down the road, that I had learned a bit. And I began to learn even more as time went on. And I figured out that I am always going to be a baker. I'm not going to go out and try and do anything more than that. I'm not going to become a disciple. I'm not going to become anything else. I'm going to be a baker. People are always going to come into my shop and they're going to see me doing this. That's just what I do. But I can sell them a loaf of bread, but then I can also give them some of that eternal bread. That bread that says, I can get from here to here. to bridge that gap so that they can be who God wants them to be. And I can tell them, I can say, you know what? I'm having some of this same bread myself. I'm not there yet. I'm still working on it. But you can come and join me, because the nice thing about the bread that Jesus gives is that it doesn't ever run out. And you can share it with as many people as you want, and it's not going to run out. You're always going to have more sitting there ready for you. Just take that time to find that way to bring it together. Now that's where we'll leave the story of the baker. The thing about that is that that's where we are. Most of us aren't going to be, tromping around the countryside, trying to feed 5,000 people at a time with a couple loaves of store-bought Walmart bread and some fish sticks from I don't know where. Chris is already looking at me going, "You're winning friends by that." But that's really not our job. There are some folks that are called to that, to do that kind of work. Our job is to be called to be the kids that are starting back to school, to be the teachers that are starting back in the class, to be the folks that are working in an office, or working in a field, or working on a job site, or working in who knows how many different places. That's our calling. We may still be there, like the baker, still doing our bread thing, or doing our whatever thing, and that's okay. That's part of who we are. God's not saying, I want you to completely upend your life, because that's not what He needs more. What He needs more of right now are folks that are going to sit back and say, this is who I am, but I can share this with others who are around me. I don't have to go and completely reshape my life to go out and to do crazy things. I can be who I am, where I am, but no, that's where God has called me to be, and that's who He wants me to be. And as I go about doing that, I can share that bread, that hope, that promise, that encouragement, that support, that compassion, all of that with folks that need it. So this weekend, as we watched as things happened, or if you did, like I did, just kind of watch updates come through different news sites on Facebook, as events were unfolding, the thing that we need so much more of right now are not a lot of people who are going to go be a prophetic voice and tell us, here's the next 10 steps on how to get us out of the problems that our country faces right now. What we really need are a bunch of folks who can sit back and who can say, I've still got to get up and go to work on Monday morning, but as I do that, I can take that bread with me. I can work to make sure that the work I do is not at the expense of someone else. And then in turn, I can share that with others so that they can grow also, and that we can stand up and we can be that voice that says we can be different, we can grow beyond where we are, and we can show Christ's love and light in a world that so desperately needs it, not because we force it on people, but because they come and they see the importance of it, and they see Christ's light shining in them. Let us go be those people this week and in the weeks to come that share that bread and share that hope and share that promise with a world that so desperately needs it. Let us go and do that in Christ's name. Amen.